Welcome back to part 2 of the video. Now we're going to practice taking equations and putting them into standard form. So again, our standard form is just the x term plus the y term equals the constant or the number. So your goal when you're getting things into standard form is to move all your x and y variables to the left side and to move your number to the right side. Okay, so let's start with number 8. I want you to pause your video, get number 8 into standard form, and then start the video back up and check your answer. So on this, as long as you kept in mind how to solve an equation, I went ahead and distributed the -1 times the -2, which gave me positive 2, and distributed the -3 times the parentheses. And the answer was 3x plus 4 equals 3x plus y equals 4. Okay, so now let's look at number 9. On number 9, I want you to do the same thing, get it into standard form. You're going to have to deal with the fraction. Either distribute the 2/3 and then clear out the fraction, or clear out the fraction before you do the work. Either way works just fine. Get it into standard form, pause your video to do the work, and then check back for the answer. So I chose to go ahead and clear out my fraction at the very beginning and multiply both sides times 3. The only thing a little different about this one is when I got down to my initial answer where I had all the x's and y's on one side and the number on the other, I started out with a -2x. You can get away with that, but they typically like to have standard form where the coefficient to the x is a positive whole number. So if you just left it at the -2x plus 3y equals 15, that's acceptable. If you want to get it into the full definition of standard form, multiply everybody by -1. Okay, on number 10, I want you to solve number 10 on your own as well. Again, you've got another fraction to clear out, and I believe you'll probably also come up with a negative x coefficient at the beginning, so go ahead and multiply everything times -1 at the end to get rid of the negative. Pause the video to do the work and then check back for the answer. So that one was very straightforward. Just check and make sure you got the correct answer. Okay, number 11 is a word problem, a real-life application situation. The cool thing about most word problems, they end up being in standard form. It's just the way they lend themselves. So what I want you to do is to do number 11. You're going to have to figure out what the S represents, which would be our small van, and the L will represent our large van. And then go ahead and write an equation. It will end up in standard form. Pause your video while you do the work and then check back to make sure that you did it correctly. So that was a very straightforward equation, straight from the information. Number 12 and number 13 are also very straight. So I want you to pause your video to do number 12 and 13. Once you've got them completed, then start the video back up to check your answers. The last problem, number 14, gives you information about a band fundraiser. So go ahead and figure out your x and your y values and write your equation in standard form. And then to graph this equation, I would find, well, it's up to you. You can solve it for y, put it in slope-intercept form. In standard form, I find it very easy to find the x-intercept and y-intercept and graph the line that way. And then go ahead and figure out the answer to the 258 sweatshirts question and come up with 2 other possible combinations. After you've completed the work, check back on the video or start the video back up for one last check on the answers. I chose to put my equation in standard form and find my x-intercept and my y-intercept. So to find my x-intercept, I looked for the value for x when y was 0. When I solved it, I found my x-intercept was 360. For my y-intercept, I found the value of y when x was 0, and that was 900. And then I drew my graph. I figured out a scale that would work, and put my intercept at 900 and 360 and drew my line. So then when it asked, well, if they sold 258 sweatshirts, so I just used my equation in the standard form, and I plugged in 258 for the sweatshirts and solved it down to find out that we would have sold 255 of the baseball caps. Then it just opened it up wide for you to figure out 2 more possible solutions. So I just came up with 2 more possible choices of the number of sweatshirts we could sell and solved to see how many baseball hats would go with it. So I'm sure you don't have the same numbers as me, but I did 300 sweatshirts, which gave me 150 hats, and 200 sweatshirts gave me 400 hats.